Om Shri Ganeshaya Namo Namah. Greetings to everyone world over, all my brothers and sisters across the globe. Wherever you are, we extend you a very, very warm welcome. It's indeed a great pleasure that you all have joined us. And we are going ahead with a very special program today. Today is the second day, rather not second day. Today is the first day, but it is a second webinar. Okay. Okay. I got to go. Can you see me on the YouTube, sir?
I am not sure. I can see you as I was seeing you before.
Okay, just a second. Sakshi, Julie ma'am, Prachi ma'am, all the ladies, those have joined us. Can you see me on the YouTube? If you can, just post it. Yes, please. Just post yes if you can see me. Can you see me on the YouTube, sir?
I am not.
Subhash Verma ji, can you see me? Sakshi, can you see me? Yes. Okay. Then, okay, great. Then I'm sharing the yes, here it is. So I was telling all my brothers and sisters across the globe, wherever you are, I was just sharing with all of you that today this is the second webinar which we are hosting, we are organizing. I resumed after 6 months, and it's indeed a great pleasure for me that I am getting across to all my brothers and sisters across the globe. And Professor Vinay Nangia, he says no. Prachi, can you see me? Sakshi, can you see me? Because I'm sitting somewhere very far, and I'm just trying to share the screen with all of you. If you can see me on the YouTube, tell me. Prachi, Sakshi, can you see me? Julie ma'am, can you see me? Subhash Verma ji, can you see me? If you can see me, because Professor Vinay Nangia ji, he says we are unable to see. I just wish to know, can you see me? You are visible. Julie ma'am, you are visible. Okay. Thank you very much. I'll proceed, and I'll share my slide once again with you. And it's indeed a great pleasure that we have got, I would call it my mentor, Professor M.M. Pant sir, the former Pro Vice Chancellor for very prestigious IGNOU University. And when you look at his profile, ladies and gentlemen, I'm too humble and I'm too small just to introduce him, because he's a living legend who has contributed so much to humanity, particularly to education, to learning, to skilling, to competencies, to talent strategically channelizing. Professor M.M. Pant sir, he's an internationally renowned expert specializing in pedagogy, technology, and the development of tools and curricula for the 21st enhance the pedagogy using latest available technologies, whatsoever is available. And it is quite surprising whenever I go on the LinkedIn, I see the latest, what all is coming, through the technology and through our artificial intelligence. You can see in his article and you can see his in post He tries to keep the latest for everybody. And ladies and gentlemen, when you share the knowledge, the wisdom, your specialities, and whatsoever God has given you, I think God always bestows more showers and more blessings on you. And that's what is Professor M.M. Pansar. He is especially noted for his efforts in leveraging social media for improving learning and bringing the mobile into the classroom where it has been traditionally banned. Professor Pant's current work and interest revolve around the development, delivery, and promotion of educational product processes and services that cater for the needs and interest of the future learners. A framework that is named learning 2 to 1. Now when I go into the group, it is learning 3 to 1, where he had been very kind. I'm a part of that, is doing wonderful. His past roles include being the former pro vice chancellor of the Indira Gandhi National Open University and being on the faculty of the IIT Kanpur, the premier engineering institution of India, MLNR Engineering College, and faculty as well as a visiting professor to the University of Western Ontario, Canada. He has been a visiting scientist at European research centers in Italy, England, Germany, Sweden. Professor Pansar is the founder of the LMP Education Trust. And this particular organization is so vibrant. It is helping out everybody the best possible way, whatsoever can be done for the humanity in education. Ladies and gentlemen, this morning, this afternoon, this evening, wherever you are, your active participation in this particular program today will fetch you some special rewards, some attractive prizes, which we'll keep sharing with you as the program proceeds, as the program progresses. So with these words, on behalf of Chamber for Service Industry, we extend a very warm welcome towards a special program on active learning in the age of ChatGPT today on Sunday, 24th of March, 2024. And in India, I know you all must have enjoyed your dinner. And we go ahead with Professor M.M. Pant, sir. Let's learn the best possible way. Let's pick up whatsoever best we can take from him. And it's going to be the great learning. Pranam, sir, and hearty welcome to you. It's always indeed a great pleasure to have you and to learn from you. With these words, ladies and gentlemen, I present before the global galaxy a very prestigious, my mentor, and I hold him in the great regards, Professor M.M. Pansar, living legend of education fraternity. Professor M.M. Pansar.
Yeah. So thank you, Major Dr. Gulshan Sharma. It's a pleasure to be here. I have no idea how many people are listening to this or hearing this because I'm not able to get that numbers, but I hope you are, because I want this to be an active session on active learning. So the way I propose to do this is that I had already shared with Dr. Gulshan Sharma a handout to be given away to all participants, where I have shared what will be the flow of the program and a lot of information and links to further information, because within this 1 hour or so of interacting, you can't share all that information. So that has already been done. I will share with you major issues, points, and we will have this as an interactive, engaging session. So I will, for example, take about 15 to 20 minutes to introduce the topic and talk about the main issues. And then the remaining time, we will have question, answers, your opinion, and so on and so forth. So let me begin with this whole story of what is now happening. You see, we are at a turning point in history of education, the methods of learning, and the future that is unfolding before us. And you would have seen that for decades we were using PowerPoint slide, etc., and talking about a lecture format. But 1 year back, somebody said Chat GPT, and it was something to do with AI. People have no idea what AI is, but everybody today is using Chat GPT. Now, that is the thing that is going to happen. So if you are active, you will realize that this is a method which everybody will use tomorrow in whatever they are doing. And it's a very interesting thing. I want to draw a metaphor to two such things in the past. You know what is a microscope? A microscope allowed us to see things which the naked eye could not see. I am talking about technology which will allow teachers to do what they are not able to do in their usual classroom. That is the first part. And it allows you, just like a microscope allows you to see very small things, this technology allows you to look at each learner, what is going on in the mind of the learner, what he has actually learned, what he has not learned. A final examination card only tells you A, B, C, D, E, or 60, 70, 75. But what does a if there are five people who have all got 65, can you say what is the difference between them? And this is why this is so important. Similarly, there was something called the telescope. And with the telescope, you could see things far away. You could pry into your neighbor's house and see what he's doing. You could see something further away. You could see large crowds and what they are doing. Or you could see at the moon or the Jupiter or the rings of Saturn. And now with other thing, you have something called radio telescope and so on and so forth. So similarly, just like I said in microscope, when you want to see very small things, you have something called electron microscope. When you want to see things which are very far away, you use a radio telescope and so on. And AI and chat GPT are going to be like that. You will be able to see things which you didn't see before, means you will be able to learn things which you could not learn before easily. And what is happening nowadays, that every day something new is happening. You take any field today, it is changing very rapidly. Computing itself, if you look at this, there was a time when we learned what? Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and so on and so forth. Then there was a time you learned HTML, this, that, and now you're talking. Even, see, I've been into the computing field for almost 60 years now. I began computing in 1966, 67. We had an IBM 1620 computer. The language at that time was Fortran. There was also another language called COBOL. Then came Pascal. Then came BASIC. Then came C. Then C++. Then Java. Now it is Python. And so on. So every few years, it is all changing so fast. Now, if you're going to have things that change so fast and things which are new, how do you get to learn that? Now, normal method was somebody would do a course in this thing, he will do a, what is that, MEd or BEd, learn how to teach, then they will do the subject thing. But now subjects are coming at such a great stage. So, for example, take something called quantum computing. It is already all around. How will you learn? Where is your professor who himself did his PhD in quantum computing? You won't get him in any university easily, because if he has done it, he's been taken away by IBM, Microsoft, Google, etc. So where will you find the professor who's willing to teach you about quantum physics or about new astronomy or about new astrophysics or even new biophysics? We saw in the last 3 years, we learned so much about the coronavirus, etc., etc. Where will you get people who will teach you about that? This is why it is very important to use technology to reach out to a lot of people. So this is the whole purpose of this talk. And therefore, from the traditional model of passive learning, we have to move to a model of active learning. In passive learning, somebody prescribed the syllabus, somebody said what is the curriculum, what courses you must study, and you studied for that, and then the past exam, and then he gave you a degree. But today you want to learn something. You said, forget your this thing. I want to know today what is the James Webb Space Telescope doing. Now you cannot wait till UGC will create a program on what James Webb Space Telescope is doing. And if that is so, tomorrow your interest shifts to biophysics, biochemistry. You want to know about that. You want to know what is happening. And therefore, the future is more of active learning. You will do passive learning in your initial stages. What is ABCD? What is 1, 2, 3, 4? Till you learn the basics. But once you have learned to read and write and fundamentals of mathematics, then whether you want to know more on physics or on chemistry or on biology, it is going to be for you. You cannot wait. There is a very famous futurist, Thomas Frey. You can look him up. Thomas Frey is director of Da Vinci Institute. As you can see, Da Vinci is named after Leonardo da Vinci. And Thomas Ray has a very nice quotation. He says, if you want to insert a teacher between yourself and everything that you want to learn, you will never be able to learn all you wanted to learn in a reasonable time. Therefore, you have to use these modern things. And the goal of today's session is to say that these new technologies, which we know by the name of AI and Chat GPT, are the way forward. This helps you learn what you are no teacher for. So that is the purpose. Now, let me put this in a somewhat structured manner because I want your comments, observations, so on. So I've given a certain structure which I shared with Dr. Gulshan Sharma earlier. First, I want to share with you that while we are used to lectures as the most common way of learning, that is not the only way of learning. In the field of education, there is something called the learning pyramid, where they talk about how well you learn from lectures, how well you learn from reading, how well you learn from discussion, how well you learn from experimentation. That's why in science subject you have laboratory also, not only theory. And then finally, they say that you learn the best when you are actually teaching people. And for example, I remember I first had know this, that I come from Allahabad University. Allahabad University is very famous for producing largest number of IAS officers and top ranking IAS officers. Many of them do a postgraduate in one subject, then they do a postgraduate in another subject, then they teach as lecturers for some time. And then they get into the IAS. Because when you teach, you really understand. When you are lecturing, when you are studying, you study to pass the exam. So you may not know everything, but somehow you pass the exam. But when you are teaching, you don't know what question will come from where, which student will ask at what time, and so on. And therefore, lecturing gives you, it also gives you a capability of communication well. So you also do well in interview because when some question is asked, you are prepared to answer it, and so on and so forth. So these are things which educationists have been doing. But the problem was that how do you do all these things in a classroom? So the simplest thing to do is lecture. Although educationists themselves say that lecture is only 5% effective. But even now, UGC insists that you must have attended 75% of the lectures. When your own educationists are saying that there is no, and not only that, they are saying that the span of attention of students is not 1 hour. You give a 1 hour lecture, they will only remember the first 10 minutes. After that, they all forget. And this is very well brought out by Salman Khan in his book, The One World Schoolhouse, where he tried to do this research because he was creating videos for his cousin to learn. And he wanted to know what is the right length of a video for education. And he said that research showed, again, research by educationists, that 10 minutes is the optimum time. And that is why those of you who have seen something more than the classroom know all TED Talks are only of 20 minutes. No matter is it Bill Gates, it can be president of US, but his TED Talk cannot be more than 20 minutes. Because they know after 20, there may be 2 talks, one after the other in 3 months' time. But they know that beyond 20 minutes, nobody can keep applying his mind. As what Dr. Sharma has also said, active learning or active listening or paying attention. So after 10 minutes, your mind will wander away. And it is not your fault. It is the biology of the brain which makes you wander away and so on. So this is why I'm talking about the learning pyramid. And the reason was that a teacher in a class could not do all this variation. Even if he knew this should be done, there is no way. I cannot suddenly give you a page 20 minutes reading time. If I'm sitting there and you're all reading, it doesn't work. Or I can't say start discussing among yourselves. It will be complete class. In fact, I remember when we used to start talking too much in class, teachers would say, is this a fish market? Whatever. So in a class, you are supposed to keep quiet. So you could only do that. So that was the first thing. The second thing that I want to draw attention to is a specific paper by a very eminent educationist called Benjamin Bloom. Benjamin Bloom is a very well-known educationist, and we teach Bloom's taxonomy in all BA, MA programs and so on. And Benjamin Bloom actually visited India also. And he was here he visited the NCRT and so on and so forth. So the So he produced a paper in 1984 called famously the 2 sigma problem. So all of you in education know that when a certain exam is done, the performance of the students is on a bell curve. So you give A to some people, F to some people, C to most people, then B, D, E, and that is a standard way. But Benjamin Bloom says this is because of your teaching method. He says if you teach very well, and he said the best form of teaching is one-to-one. So one teacher, one student, the teacher knows what the student is like, and the student is attentive to the teacher. He says this is the best form. This in our uh, uh, thing is, when we have our traditional education system, we used to teach 1:1 next to the teacher, the student is next to the, and we would be into, if you remember the story of Dronacharya and the Pandavas, so the story is that he has to put an arrow into the fish, eye of the fish, but he looks at all the 5 people differently and said, no, you can't do it, you can't do it, you can't do it. This was personalization of learning. This was personalization of learning. You sat at the foot of the master, and the master looked each of them. He could say, this is the thing, everybody. So suppose I have a class of 40 students, and I start telling everybody, you see, this is how the solution of the hydrogen atom for the Schrodinger equation is done. You see, most of them will disappear. So you have to be who is ready for Schrodinger equation and hydrogen atom, and who is not ready for it. So this is what Benjamin Bloom says, that you have to do mastery learning and personalization, then everybody will be able to do good marks. And that is why he called the 2 sigma problem. And he said that in his 1984 paper, that one day there will be technology which will allow us group instruction, which is as effective as one-on-one instruction. Today, AI is helping us get that way. So earlier, when we were using technology for education, we were still doing broadcast. So you give a lecture on YouTube, it is a broadcast. So more people can get it. I can hear a professor of MIT giving this, that, but there is no interaction between us. And even if there is interaction, it can be generic interaction. Like we will have, some people will ask a question and I will give a reply for everybody. But the future is about getting the individual specific reply. And this is what the promise of AI is. So the promise of AI is that in a large scale, we will be able to personalize things. Like, for example, when we use GPS on the mobile, I am looking for some other place, Dr. Sharma is looking for some other place, you are looking for some other place, but each of us is being given that same path. All of us is not telling how to go to Singapore from here, or how to go to Orchard Street or whatever. He said, what you want is what we are giving you. But it is the same technology. So this is why I said microscope and telescope allow us to do what we want to do, but the technology is common. So the AI chat GPT is common, but you do your different thing. So you may say that this is Shashi Tharoor English, I am not able to understand at all. So can you please make Shashi Tharoor's English in simple terms so that I can also understand it? That is where AI will help you. But otherwise, you are miserable. If Shashi Tharoor is giving you a lecture, you will not understand anything. Right? So now you understand why this is important. And now, as an educator, you should become ready to do this. I want to share with you a few resources which I encourage you to pursue deeply. The most important is a book by Anthony Seldon called The Fourth Education Revolution. The Fourth Education Revolution by Anthony Seldon is a book which all educators must read because it is about how AI will affect education. And Anthony Seldon is a very good person because he's not a computer scientist working in IBM or Google or telling you what to do. He was vice chancellor of a university called Buckingham University in UK. It's a fairly technical university, and also head of school of what is called Wellington School. So in England, the 2 well-known schools are Eton College and Wellington College. So many great leaders have come from Eton, and there's a very well-known phrase. People challenge the truthfulness of the phrase, but they say the Battle of Waterloo was won on the playfields of Eton. So the phrase means that while these people were studying in Eton, they understood comradeship, working together, etc., etc. So therefore, Anthony Seldon's book is something which all educators must read, and it begins with not hi-fi approach, what is AI, etc., and so on. He begins with what does a teacher do in classroom? So these are the 5 things which a teacher does in classroom. How will AI help the teacher in doing this better? What are the 5 things that a learner does in classroom? What are the things that will make AI work? So the AI is a solution both for the teacher and for the learner, and that is why I have so much hope from AI in helping us in education for all. While AI was being talked about for the last 5 years actively and longer for people who were with it, in 1 year, ChatGPT has made AI accessible to everybody. Till ChatGPT came, people did not quite understand what AI does, how does it do, etc. And even if people said they were more worried about whether AI will take away their jobs or AI will do that and so on. But that AI is an assistant both to the teacher and to the learner. That is the beauty of the AI. So you will have a teaching assistant or a learning, as I said, learning assistant. You want to understand what Shashi Tharoor is speaking, you need an assistant, right? He may be talking very great things, but his language itself, you will not be able to understand unless that AI helps you in that. So this is where ChatGPT has come. And I want to say a few things. ChatGPT is not like Google. It is not a search engine which will give you an answer. It is like a conversational friend who will give you some response to something that you say. And that is why what you say to ChatGPT is called a prompt. And what ChatGPT says to you is called the response. Like anything, when you ask a human being, he cannot give you the full and final answer to what you really want because he may not understand it fully. Or even deliberately, he may not want to tell you. I've been a lawyer. One of the skills of a lawyer is that when you ask a witness a question, he will not tell you the full truth. So you have to do cross-examination to get him to get the answer. So same thing with ChatGPT. ChatGPT may not give you a final correct answer straight away. Some people get disappointed. ChatGPT doesn't give, gives wrong answer, etc. But it is like a human conversation. You have to ask more and more. So you ask some prompt, he gives you an answer. Then you ask another prompt defining that thing more easily. Then something else, till you get a satisfactory answer. This is what a lawyer does in court. He will cross-examine the witness till the witness tells the ultimate truth. You must have seen this in many movies, that eventually the witness tells the truth because he was not willing to say that in advance. So all educators need to have a goal of seeing that all the students, it is not enough to say 3 people in my thing did very well. All my class did very well. So you have to adopt techniques which educationists have said from Benjamin Bloom, mastery learning, this, that. But you use the AI to be able to do that. And there are many tools for that. This thing for that, I've given lots of references, and I will add more as we go into the interactive part. So now I think we'll have a part, and Dr. Sharma will help in coordinating that. I'm happy with your questions, comments, observations, strategies, however, but whatever you want to say, right?
Wonderful, wonderful, sir. You have given the whole scenario in such a simple, beautiful way that everybody can understand. The way you have put it across, and particularly when you made a mention in a very humble way that 60 years long journey and all the languages of the computer and basic computers and coming right up to artificial intelligence and chat GPT, a wonderful journey scenario you have given it to all of us. Benjamin Bloom's, something that also the complete chronology which you have given is again why that bell curve and where exactly and why does it happen, where you have given the A part and the F part and in between the major portion. That is also something fantastic which you have given. And now a few questions which I wish to take it. Somebody has asked me how would you look at metaverse in future?
Yeah. So see, metaverse is more about the visual part.
Okay.
So metaverse is more about the visual part, and very often we know that words or equations or formulas are not enough, but we want to actually show the real place. So in all history, in all geography, showing the real place is very important. No matter how much you can try to say it is cold, very cold, very cold, a person living in the desert who has never seen snow cannot imagine what snow is.
Yes.
Similarly, a person staying in a place which is snow cannot imagine where Jaisalmer is like or pure sand is like, and so on and so forth. So, this is where visuals become very important. So, augmented reality, virtual reality, and then creating metaverses become very, very important. But metaverse also will have to be designed by the person with the learning objective that they have. So, what do you want to show and help experience in this thing? Sometimes the pure mathematical equation can be a better explanation. So for me, x square plus y square is equal to a square gives me a better representation of a circle than any amount of circle you may draw. So the verbal expression, the mathematical expression, and the visual experience on the metaverse is something which is very important and is very useful. But the point is, the issues that we are saying is metaverse alone will not implement pedagogy. Because if you want to achieve mastery learning, you want to make sure that all the steps are covered, that has to come to be designed. So my emphasis is that it is pedagogy which is important. Technology alone cannot solve the pedagogical problems.
Okay.
And therefore, that why I began with the learning pyramid and Benjamin Bloom and so on. And I have given my reference a whole thing about pedagogies. It is the pedagogy which, in fact, I'll go back slightly trivial, but in India there's a famous story of Panchatantra.
Mm-hmm.
What is the story of Panchatantra? It is about pedagogy.
Yes.
This king wanted his children to be told about niti, practical wisdom, how to rule, etc. He got all kinds of pundits. They all failed because their pedagogy was not good enough. But then Vishwa Sharma, he said, I will not teach you, I will just tell you stories. He told them stories of all kinds of animals, put them in category, and told them what life is. So this is the point. So your metaverse will be very good if in your metaverse the pedagogical elements have been intertwined and kept in the design. But if you just create, see, like even in the movies, just because you have great visuals, the movie doesn't become a hit. The movie becomes a hit if the visuals, story, music, all this is together so that the audience is happy.
Yes, yes.
So we want to see that learning happens. You can have a great thing, great experience, very nice visuals, etc. But if you remember nothing after that, then low learning has happened.
Yes. Great. So topic also is active learning today, and particularly artificial intelligence and chat GPT. Nisha ji, you have written artificial intelligence is not a substitute for human intelligence. It's a tool to amplify human creativity and ingenuity. Already Professor Pant has supported and he has complemented that particular view. Professor Vinay Nangia ji, can Khan Migo be used in higher education?
Of course, there is no reason why it can't be. The point is, Khan Migo is applying AI to give you a personal tutor. So the earlier versions of Khan Academy only had a set of videos. And it was for the human teacher who was class teacher or whatever to organize the learning process. Khan Migo is an AI-based personal tutor. And it will allow that. Now, higher education is not one thing. Higher education begins with the first year of undergraduate to PhD, pre-PhD, MPhil, whatever. So it will depend upon the people who are implementing that to have enough. As you know, in computer field, garbage in, garbage out. So if you say in higher education, higher years, you are putting in things like critical thinking, deductive reasoning, inductive reasoning, various ways of this thing, etc. Then obviously, if that content is there, it will be true. So content has to be first available. What the Migo or AI experience does is that transaction of the content with a lot of learners gives them knowledge about the learning process. So Wonderful. It is just like a more experienced teacher. See, and we've all gone through this. I very often tell people that when I began my teaching, first lecture that I gave, everything that I had prepared for, I just finished within that 1 hour. My face was red, my ears were burning, and so on. As I become a mature teacher, I can go unprepared to the class. I can have a conversation like having with you, and so on and so forth. Now, this is the difference. So, same
Yeah.
thing with AI. The
Uh,
more data AI is trained on, the
uh,
better it will be in its response. If it is at a beginning stage, it will have more errors, more this thing. They call it
yeah.
hallucination sometimes,
Yeah.
whatever. See,
Yeah.
the other thing is you must know, all of us are in education. Sometimes you ask a question and the student doesn't really know the answer, but he doesn't give up. He will tell you all kinds of things. And if it is an answer book, he will fill the answer book, 8 pages, etc., etc. This is what ChatGPT also does. If it doesn't know the real answer, it will tell you all kinds of things related to it, but not the real answer. And that is where sometimes people get irritated
Uh,
that it didn't answer it, because
yes.
it is not like Google, where is a
Yes.
database to certain questions and answers. It
Uh,
is something which it figures out
yes.
by trial and error, and
Different sources. Yeah.
the more people have used it, the more he knows.
Yes. Yes.
So it is like, and he knows what pairs of words go together.
And
So if he has,
you used a very nice word, sir. It will all depend on the prompt, what kind of a response would come.
yeah, right,
I recall. I recall.
yeah,
There's another question from Pankaj Soni. Sir,
yeah.
how we get more easier or involving with artificial intelligence in upcoming year technical challenges?
Very simple, very simple. You, firstly, you have to say you are the center of this learning exercise. See, we are so used to somebody else telling us what is important. I remember, I've very senior, very often people will come to me, वो किस फील्ड में स्कोप है आजकल? मैंने कहा भाई फील्ड में स्कोप नहीं होता है. What you do is going to matter.
Yes.
नहीं, but lot of people come, आजकल किस फील्ड में स्कोप है? I mean, this is finally like fashion trend कि आजकल जीन्स का फैशन है कि टॉप का है कि क्या है, ऐसा नहीं होता. And the biggest story on this is very interesting. Many of you know that Max Planck was the founder of quantum mechanics, etc. When he wanted to start doing his master's in physics and further research, his physics professor, who was very good, he said there is nothing new to do in physics. After Newton, Maxwell, this, that, there is nothing new to do in physics. So don't waste your time in physics. And Max Planck gave a very modest answer. Sir, I am not looking at doing new things in physics. I'm trying to just understand what's going on in physics.
Wow.
And then he came up with this. So this is the approach you have to take. Don't think that there is a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. You must have the curiosity to learn and to be happy to do whatever comes next.
Great.
And
Great.
I find this I try to tell people in every field there is a scope.
Hmm.
Want to do this and so on. So, yeah. So once you decide, then you follow. And it is very simple.
Great.
The chat GPT itself, in fact, I will share with you a story. You should look at this person. This person's name is Mike Sharples. Mike Sharples has been a professor of educational technology in UKOU. He's also been the academic chief of FutureLearn and is a very, very accomplished person in this field, close to his retiring age. And he has a program of which link I must have given in the notes. He says that I asked ChatGPT 4 to teach me quantum computing.
Wow.
And after teaching, and look here, after teaching, assess me how much I've learned. So now you know how it can be learned. So any subject that you want to learn, you say, teach me that subject. So suppose you want to say neuroscience, you want to understand now. It's a very important issue of brain, etc. So you say, please teach me neuroscience and test how much have I learned. So it will give you a test question. So that is where, when Professor Nandia asked about this thing, AI can become a tutor, it can become an assessor, it can become an advisor, it can even tell you. You can tell them 2 books on neuroscience that you have read. I said, I've read these 2 books, what next should I read? It will tell you what next you should read. Or you say, I have seen these 3 videos on neuroscience, and this is what should I do to learn more. It will give you that idea, and so on. So it is, that is why when people say comparing with humans, it will do more than what a single human being can do today.
Okay. Thank you, sir. One more question I'm taking. There's a legend of the travel and tourism industry, Shri Subhash Verma ji. He is very elderly and a very respectable person in the entire trade. He has got a question. I have a question. Lot of branded services providers.
Hmm.
He says a lot of branded service providers, they are using Chat GPT, but as
Hmm.
a consumer, there is a very limited scope available with me to understand what exactly kind of a standard questions should be put across, how it is to be given. There is a more information coming from the other side.
Yeah, but so it clearly shows that the field is not mature enough. See,
uh,
see, I'm talking, let us take the science approach.
hmm,
When some field is not understood, there will
hmm,
be lots of people giving their theory, their idea, their this thing. As the field gets more and more settled, the questions will become less.
hmm, hmm,
Today, for example, suppose somebody wants to talk about space, time, etc.
hmm,
He will not say space can be this, that can be this, God created this, etc., etc., what Genesis said. He will
hmm,
say Einstein's theory of relativity, Einstein's theory of this, and so on. And the stories about how the world came, what we did in Hanumanji did this, that, that all won't come in. Hanumanji ne Surya ko kha liya, ye wo, that will disappear. That will remain as stories, well-known stories, but nobody will believe that Hanumanji actually took away the sun. Once you know that the sun is 93 million miles away so much and that nuclear reactor is happening inside the sun. So what happens is that whenever we don't know the answers, and it's a very important question because I will try to say that when a field develops, in a sense, everything about the field will be accepted as interesting. As more and more we know, we can say this is bakwas, this cannot happen, this won't happen, this will happen, and so on. So today, tourism, etc., is in that fledgling stage. There is no quote unquote science of tourism.
hmm,
And I will share with you health. Today we think of health as a science, but 100 years ago it wasn't. We had no idea of how the human body works. 400 years ago, William Harvey discovered the circulation of blood. Till then, we thought blood is everywhere. That there is a heart which pumps blood, it goes through the cycle. This is only 400 years old. The germ theory of disease, which Pasteur and Lister and so on did, is only about 150 years ago. There was a US president who was shot, like Abraham Lincoln and John Kennedy. He was shot in July. He did not die of the bullet wounds. He died 3 months later because of the doctors. In fact, the one person who shot said, I only shot him. It is the doctors who killed him. Because the doctors were trying to take out the bullet with bare hands without washing the
oh,
hands. Because there was no germ theory of disease. So
hmm.
they had no idea there is something called germ, etc., etc. And this is a US president. It is no ordinary person.
Imagine.
So they were no, because we didn't know. And you know
Hmm,
that today, for everything we talk of DNA test,
hmm,
but Crick and Watson discovered the DNA only in 1950s.
hmm,
The test, etc., has come only now. So the
hmm,
point is, and there is a very nice book I would encourage everybody interested. I am a great admirer of that person, Thomas Lewis. He has a book called The Youngest Science. And the youngest science he refers to is medicine. The oldest science are astronomy,
hmm,
geology, physics, chemistry. Chemistry came out of alchemy. Medicine, he says, is the youngest science. And it is only with Johns Hopkins University, who actually pleaded with the doctors that please allow us to do scientific research before we
hmm,
think of the treatment. The
hmm,
treatment was thought on the doctor, whatever he thinks of, and so on. And if you remember, the earliest treatment was they gave them mercury, they gave them arsenic, they gave them this thing, and they will purge you of this thing, etc., etc. It's only very recently that. Similarly with engineering, engineering was not considered a science; it was considered practice.
hmm,
Science-based engineering started with MIT, IIT, and so on. Otherwise, Roorkee Engineering College and various other old engineering colleges, they did not bother about science. Physics,
hmm,
chemistry was not their concern. They
hmm.
were engineers. They were building things, making things. Similarly, doctors were healing people. They had no idea कि bacteria. So, no, I will tell you, when the coronavirus came, I studied all the MBBS curriculum. वायरस के बारे में कोई नहीं पढ़ाता था डॉक्टरी में.
Imagine.
One lecture on microorganisms, उसमें सब आ जाता था.
Oh.
And I tried to think over it. And reason was that before the corona, and to some extent HIV, viruses were untreatable. If you remember,
Spanish flu?
Yeah, no, but they came, but
yeah.
But you will remember, ask any ordinary person, before COVID, if you had some problem, doctor will tell you viral fever है, 3 दिन में चला जाएगा. कोई इलाज करने की जरूरत नहीं है, fluid लीजिए, ये लीजिए, चला जाएगा. See, it was not something which was in the scope of medical science to treat. It is only in the COVID first time that they thought of possible treatment. And the first set of treatment was called retrofixing, something which worked for another medicine. Let's try it for this disease.
Okay.
And it's only now that people know, and even today, they don't know from first principles how it has happened. In fact, my private belief is that the next great step in medical science is going to be because of quantum physics. That they will start understanding how things are actually happening. अभी तो कहते ना ये दवा दी ठीक हो गया. क्यों? Eventually, it is a chemistry. So let us take two simple things. We are told as with age, antioxidants लीजिए. Antioxidants लेते हैं, क्या होता है? आप कहते हैं ऑक्सीजन आयन का जो है वो न्यूट्रलाइज हो जाता है. Eventually, it is the electron in that oxygen atom which is changing its state. And therefore, quantum mechanics has to be involved. The other very important thing for aging is called the telomere theory of aging. So telomeres are the last end of our DNA. And therefore, like the end of a shoelace, there is a certain thing that is called telomere. It's a set of ATCG bonds. And they have done research-wise that telomerase is an enzyme which helps in the shortening of these telomeres which come. That experiment has been done, for that Nobel Prize has been given. But when they go to the next stage as to how the enzyme works, they will have to come to quantum mechanics. Because all enzymatic reactions are explainable only through quantum mechanics. So we are still going the next 10, 50 years. And that is why there is so much interest in now quantum technologies, quantum mechanics, and so on, because biology and health science will be the big thing. So curing, response to aging, response to cancer. Even today, they have no idea how cancer happens. Suddenly it starts growing. But suddenly कुछ नहीं होता है. Everything eventually happens with the physics and chemistry inside it. So cancer, old age, many of these diseases will all be done, explained by quantum theory and applying quantum physics. So now I've started encouraging that students in class 12 should seriously look at quantum physics if they're going to adopt a career in biology or medicine.
Okay. Great. Yeah. In fact, you are having one program also coming up on the
that
quantum.
Is 14th April. Because 14th April now, see, only 3 years ago, worldwide, they are saying 14th April will be observed as World Quantum Day.
Okay. Because 14th April.
14th April. We are doing an event on that in the India Habitat Center. So the point is now they are saying people have to understand that the world is essentially quantum in nature. It's just like we all agree today that everything is made of atoms. Atoms are made of protons, neutrons, electrons. All chemistry is basically electrons in the outermost orbits and so on. And when we look at all biological materials, membranes, tissue, fluids, etc., eventually you have to say that they also consist of atoms and electrons and protons and various things. So that is my current interest area.
Great. Thank you, sir. Sakshi, you have posted lots of questions. I'm taking all your questions in one question. I hope you would be kind. She's joining us from Uttarakhand. She talked about strategies, Chat GPT, and a couple of things. What are some challenges or limitations Chat GPT facing in implementing active learning strategies today?
Yeah. So point is very simple. We should understand that active learning is a process of finding out. It is very important. There are two kinds of things that we say knowledge happens. One is declared knowledge. You have been told. God has told you this, this, this. The other is knowledge by figuring out. Nobody has told me. भगवान हमसे रूठ गए हैं, लेकिन हम पता करेंगे ये क्या होता है. Which is the method of science. So nobody is telling you the answer. I will experiment, I will observe, I will make models, I will find weakness in them, and so on.
Okay.
So this is why. So therefore, active learning is a process where you are figuring out. The other model, declared knowledge or guided knowledge, where somebody has told you.
Yes.
So you go to a new city and somebody gives you a map with everything, you follow that.
Yes, yes.
The other thing is you go and you figure out what it is, etc. And
Great.
as you know, from prehistoric time, we have been using the compass and where the sun is, where the North Star is, and so on, to figure out our things on the high seas.
Yes.
So this is what active learning is. And it is very important because we have, to a large extent, been told that there is a right answer somewhere, somebody knows it, but there are a lot of problems in life to which nobody knows the right answer.
Thank you.
And the main problems in life are those.
Yes. Julie ma'am, you also have got a lot of questions. I'm taking one of that. Which AI-powered innovations can we expect for the future in education field?
No, so the point is very simple. As of now, it is these learning models which are there, what are called LLM learning models, large learning models. So, but you must remember, the beauty of life in recent times is something new comes up which you have not imagined. See, I will share with you, when computers were beginning in 1950s or so, people thought a large computer, no, a more powerful computer would mean a large computer. Whenever they want to talk a more powerful computer, they'll show a big computer, HAL, this, that, whatever. Now you realize the most powerful computers are small computers, completely different. So it is very difficult to say what will happen in the future because completely. And what I'm trying to say is not ignorance. I'm just telling you work is happening. For example, one of the what is the best computer that we know of? The human brain. 1.5 pound, takes only 20 watt of electricity, no air conditioning required, no large room required, no voltage stabilizer required, and does this. So anything, and you know that Elon Musk has created Neuralink, where he's connected your brain to a chip, and with that chip you can play chess, etc., by just imagining and so on. So we don't know what the future is going to be like. And it is also possible that my brain can get connected to your brain. And I may simply transfer my thought. Today, we in fact, you are from the military. In military, you use the word called brainwashing. So brainwashing, you do that. So no, this is what we do when a spy is captured by the enemy. There's that. When he returns, you check how much brainwash he has been done and so on and so forth.
Yes.
So tomorrow,
how much torture actually.
So tomorrow's technology will do the brainwashing.
Yeah. Yes, great. Another question coming, sir, very interesting. How do we train our teachers to use artificial intelligence tools in a right way, in a pragmatic way? And are there any online, special courses basically to have trainers, teachers, master trainers? Because who is basically competent to, give that?
No, see, there's a whole lot of things available. So there is no dearth of resources. And a lot of them are free resources. Google has a large number of, in fact, Google for Educators is a very big program. See, the point is, I have this thing from somewhere. If you really want to learn, nobody can stop you. And if you don't want to learn, nobody can help you.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. A lot of other questions coming up. I'll take one or two more questions if you'll permit.
Yeah.
Yes, Pankaj Soniji, your request I will also make to sir. He says we need one more session to be organized, with Professor Pant, maybe after 14th of April, when we enjoy the World Quantum Day. And somebody has asked me, is there going to be a live telecast of that program? People who will not be able to reach Delhi?
Yeah. So on the 14th of April, there will be a program for people who are coming there in person at the India Habitat Center, New Delhi. For those who want, there will be an online thing.
Okay, it will be available.
Yeah.
So from the different cities, people, you can also have an access to that particular program. We would request, sir, and there'll be a live telecast for that particular program. Now, finally, sir, before we sum up today's program, I would like to have your closing remarks, but I would like to make a special request to you. Let me just come back once again. When we talk about vocational education, when we talk about particularly in service industry, because I focus more, or chamber focuses more on service industry. If I have to train my vocational teachers, very especially today, how do I work it out? Because vocational is all practical. Vocational is all, where you got to see it's not theoretical. If somebody has to be trained for hospitality, if somebody has to be trained for tourism, if somebody has to be trained for airlines, everything is practical, which we have to take into consideration, including other areas of services sector. How do you look at that, sir?
So first thing is to anticipate the future and see what things will still be done by humans. Because there are already big companies which are creating humanoid robots. And Elon Musk is one of them. There's another one. And these people are going to make millions of humanoid robots to replace such staff which is doing much of the vocational work. So first thing is to identify what works remains to be done by humans. And then train for that. So the point is, in fact, I'll share with you a very interesting story. When lifts first came, there was a human operator who would operate the lift. And in New York in the 50s, they were like, the salary which a lift operator was getting was equivalent of $50,000 a year at today's price.
Okay.
And in a few years, they all went on strike wanting more wages. And they succeeded. By the next time they went on strike 10 years later, people had made automatic elevator operators. And today there is no occupation called lift operator. It is very important in all these vocational skill-based training to anticipate what is you have some idea of this word in nuclear physics, half-life of a certain object. What is the half-life of the skill? How long will people be required? There are so many things which I have seen disappear before my time. I'm of course old, but several things. See, for example, when I was young, ऑफिस में इंक भरने वाला आदमी होता था, उसका काम होता था हर इंक पॉट में इंक डालो, लाल इंक, हरी इंक, काली इंक डालो. Do you see that? In fact, liquid ink itself you won't have the young people to know of. There was, when we were young, somebody जिसका काम था छुरी तेज कर लो, कैंची तेज कर लो. Do you see that occupation today? Even recently, when I was active, and in Delhi, the Hindi shorthand operator was a very rare thing. English typist was, in fact, वो आर के धवन तो इंदिरा गांधी का टाइपिस्ट ही था, इतना बड़ा पॉलिटिशियन बन गया. Today we all do our things by hand. There is no typist, there is no stenographer, there is no this thing. So this is what we have to see. Same thing, computer programmer. Now, women is code. In fact, you say that low coding and no coding development is happening. So even in the computer field, I remember I used to write program, put it in a coding sheet, then give it to the data entry operator. He would type the program out of it, make punch cards and so on. All that has disappeared. So the first thing people have to anticipate is, what are these robots being planned to do? There are many hotels which are now entirely run by robots. And as you can guess, Japan is one of them, and so on. And so the first point is to anticipate, and then say what jobs are so complex that robots can't do for the next few years. Till a while ago, as you know, driving a car was considered something which cannot be automated. Playing chess was seen as something which cannot be automated. Only humans can do it. But now you have driverless cars. You have chess, where the program is defeating Garry Kasparov and so on and so forth. So a lot of these things now, dispensing chemist, pharmacist, this, that. So somebody has to do this to project where these things are happening. But the good news is that most big companies have declared their plans, what they are making. So, for example, humanoid robots, they've not only declared that they've given this quantity, this is the price at which we will give it. And now I was telling somebody that let us say you get a humanoid robot at $20,000. Some other company will come and say you take it on rent for $200 a month. Now, a human being will be very difficult to compete with this.
Absolutely.
And there is no problem because I can have 3 different robots for different purposes.
Hmm.
So it is very important, and I have no hesitation in saying that there will be a number of things which you still can't do.
Yes.
So your car can take you from here, but there's so many things you still can't do. So we have to identify what are those things which they can't do where a human is needed. And the answer that is staring at the eyes of people is care providers for the elderly. So we have now a growing elderly population, a more unemployable youth population. If we can reconcile this, then we are able to provide a thing to that, which is in a sense that what was done by the children, grandchildren, etc., and the members of the family, you now have professionals doing it. And then you can give them professional training to be able to do it. So, and some people are experimenting with this. So they're doing this, they give this, and so on. So people will have to think of new ways of supporting the thing. So automation will do so much, but in fact, one of the things that is happening now in the Western world is loneliness. People want somebody with whom they can talk as humans, and so on and so forth. So people will have to think about it. And but I don't think the traditional idea of vocational as something जो ITI बनाता है, ये बनाता है, वो नहीं चलेगा, because that will be done by machines.
Yes, yes.
Where the
Absolute.
more human thing. See, for example, you and I both know empathy is a very difficult thing. So empathy you cannot give to a machine. And since I spent some time on this, even when you talk to people like us, very few can distinguish between sympathy and empathy.
Yes.
See, what they say, empathy is actually sympathy.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree.
So therefore, these are areas where we need scope for doing this. And unfortunately, what happened is during this last couple of decades, the importance of science and technology happened so much in terms of employment that people stopped studying knowledge about humans. तो एंथ्रोपोलॉजी, सोशियोलॉजी, साइकोलॉजी ये कोई नहीं पढ़ता. यही तो चाहिए. आप देख रहे हैं मेंटल हेल्थ इश्यूज कितने आने लगे हैं. करेक्ट. But everybody was busy preparing for IIT JEE. So कोई बात ये नहीं देख रहा था. So today, and I no doubt I am saying this to a lot of people, we are completely unprepared for the epidemic of old age. Old age is a big epidemic for which we are completely unprepared because it has suddenly happened. अब even in India, अभी वो आया इलेक्शन कमीशन का डेटा, 100 साल से ज्यादा लोगों में भी कई हैं, 120 साल से ज्यादा लोग भी कई हैं. अभी तक तो सिर्फ जापान में होता है, ओकिनावा में होता है.
हाँ जी.
बट ये दिल्ली पंजाब के इलेक्टोरल रोल में आ गया. 100 की उम्र से इतने ज्यादा हैं, 120 ये आज हैं. 20 साल बाद क्या होगा?
Absolutely. When मेडिकल सर्विसेज अच्छी होंगी, बाकी भी डेवलपमेंट
Correct.
और बहुत सारे और चेंजेस
बिल्कुल
होंगे,
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल
लाइफ
बिल्कुल.
स्पैन में भी चेंज आएगा सब कुछ करके।
Exactly. So the point is that one of the thing that we are seeing right before us is
हम्म
as diagnostics improve,
हम्म
longevity बढ़ेगी.
यस यस
See, अभी हमको कैंसर तब पता चलता है जब वो काफी बढ़ जाता है.
हम्म
लेकिन जब 100 सेल कैंसरस हो जाए और तभी हमको पता चल जाए तो वो
हम्म
डिप इन द बड हो जाएगा.
yes, that is there. And that would give a push to the age factor, so called the biological number.
Yeah,
And
sure.
thereby, as you made a mention, uh, old age is old age is something which have got to be taken care of,
Right.
and that would be something which really one has to take care of. Thank you very much, sir. I think it was a wonderful wonderful
Thank you.
session and
Thank you for
wonderful.
organizing it.
No. It's indeed a great pleasure. It's always a treat to us to listen to you. It's
Thank you.
a treat to the soul. It's a treat to the eyes. It's a treat to the mind, and it's a treat to all of us. एक चीज आज आपकी एक्टिव लर्निंग के साथ और बड़ी ज्यादा जो चलती है when we are talking about active learning in the age of chat GPT, that there got to be a continuous lifelong learning which we will go on with all of us.
Yeah, yeah.
Because किसी भी स्टेज पर लर्निंग रुकेगी नहीं,
नहीं नहीं.
because it's going to be so important for us.
हाँ हाँ.
Now, with these words, ladies and gentlemen, join me in extending our deepest gratitude and thanks to a wonderful legend of the Indian education fraternity, the person who has dedicated his entire life for the humanity. And in a very humble way, I'll take a liberty to put it, he made a forum in Gurugram, people meeting on Learning 321, which he was hosting, complimentary participation for everybody, including their refreshment, snacks, everything over there. I witnessed and my mind boggling. I said, look what it is. You learn how to give back to society the best possible way. I think, sir, we pray to Almighty. We need many more sessions with you. We need many more learning from you. May God give you wonderful
Thank
wellness, good health, and long living. We pray for that. And ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow, our timings I will share with you in the creatives. Tomorrow, two girls will be coming. One from coming from Spain in Barcelona, and the other girl would be joining us from UK. Both are Indian. They have studied abroad. They are doing their internship. What are their views after Indian education, going abroad, going to the European Union and doing the internship? And how do they look at the entire synergy and how Indians are looking at, and particularly my younger generation? And if I say young students or young girls, is going to be the women empowerment tomorrow. I'm going to have
Very good.
2 sessions on the holy day, because while celebrating with Subhash Verma ji festival tourism, I would be bringing these two youngsters and they would be sharing their vision. I will be sending a creative to you also, sir.
Thank you.
You can listen to their views, what exactly do they feel about it and all. So, ladies and gentlemen, folding the hands and praying to Almighty that Dr. Professor M. Pad sir keep coming for the sessions, and we keep organizing such programs in future also. And 14th of April, World Quantum Day, we all would join on Zoom also, and I'll take a liberty to come personally and to join the program with you right